Imagine a time long before modern maps carved up the continent of Africa. Picture a vast landscape south of the Sahara Desert, a region known as the Sahel. This was a land of sweeping savannas and determined rivers, a crossroads of cultures and commodities. It was here in the heart of West Africa that a legendary empire rose from the dust. This was the Ghana Empire, a kingdom so rich that its kings were said to dress in gold and command armies thousands strong. Its story isn't just a footnote in history, it's an epic saga of power, wealth, and influence that shaped the destiny of an entire continent. This is a story that has been whispered on the winds of the desert for centuries. For nearly 1,000 years, Ghana was the dominant force in the region, a powerful magnet for merchants who traveled thousands of miles across the world's most formidable desert. To understand the rise of Ghana, you must first understand the land itself. The empire was perfectly situated in a unique geographical sweet spot, nestled between two vital natural resources. The mighty Niger River, a lifeblood for the region, snaked its way through these lands, providing water for agriculture and a natural highway for transport. This river was the key to survival in the often harsh Sahel environment, a semi-arid belt of land just south of the desert. This strategic position made Ghana the ultimate middleman. It sat directly on the trans-Saharan trade routes, the superhighways of the ancient world. Camel caravans, the ships of the desert, were the only way to transport goods across the immense sea of sand. The savanna grasslands were fertile enough to grow crops like millet and sorghum, ensuring a stable food supply for a growing population. This agricultural base was the foundation upon which the empire was built, allowing villages to grow into towns and towns to merge into a kingdom. The story of Ghana's immense wealth can be told with two words: gold and salt. In the medieval world, salt was not just a seasoning, it was a vital preservative and a biological necessity, especially in hot climates. Meanwhile, the goldfields of Wangara, located to the south of the empire, were some of the richest in the world. The gold came from the secretive Wangara miners, who practiced a fascinating form of silent trade. They would leave piles of gold at a designated spot and retreat. The kings of Ghana grew fantastically wealthy by taxing this trade. Every merchant who entered or left the empire had to pay a tax, usually in the form of goods. This brilliant system of import and export tariffs meant that a steady stream of wealth flowed directly into the royal treasury. The gold from West Africa made its way to North Africa, the Middle East, and even Europe, where it was minted into coins. European kingdoms in the early Middle Ages were often short on gold, and Ghana was one of the primary sources that kept their economies moving. At the heart of the Ghana Empire was the king, an absolute monarch with immense power and divine status. The king was known as the Ghana or warrior king, and also held the title Kaya Magan, meaning Lord of the Gold. The king governed the empire through a sophisticated system of ministers and officials. He appointed governors to rule over the various provinces and tributary states. These lesser kings and chiefs were often allowed to rule their own lands as long as they paid their annual tribute to the Ghana and provided soldiers for his army. Arab sources report that the king could summon a massive army, with some accounts claiming as many as 200,000 warriors, including 40,000 archers. These soldiers were well-equipped and highly disciplined, ensuring that the vital caravan routes remained safe from bandits. Justice was another central pillar of the king's rule. The king himself was the final court of appeal, presiding over legal cases in grand public ceremonies. According to al-Bakri, disputes were sometimes settled by an ordeal, where the accused were given a special drink. It was believed that the innocent would be unharmed while the guilty would perish. For the ordinary people of the Ghana Empire, life was shaped by the rhythms of the seasons and the demands of agriculture. The majority of the population were farmers from the Soninka ethnic group. Their diet was based on the crops they grew in the fertile Sahelian soil. Skilled artisans were a vital part of society. Blacksmiths were especially respected not just for making tools and weapons, but because they were believed to have special spiritual powers. Family and community were the cornerstones of Soninka society. The social structure was matrilineal, meaning that inheritance and succession, including the kingship, passed through the mother's line. Religion was a central part of daily life. Before the widespread influence of Islam, the people practiced a traditional African religion. They worshipped a supreme creator god and a host of lesser spirits associated with natural features like trees, rocks, and rivers. Ancestors were also highly revered. Trade was not just for the elite, it touched everyone's lives. Local markets buzzed with activity, where farmers, herders, and artisans would gather to exchange their goods. This constant flow of people and goods made the villages and towns of Ghana vibrant and diverse places, connecting the lives of simple farmers to a vast international network of commerce. The capital of the Ghana Empire, Kumbi-Saleh, was a city unlike any other in its time. What made Kumbi-Saleh so unique was its structure. According to the writings of al-Bakri, it was actually two separate cities, situated about 6 miles apart. One of the twin cities was the royal quarter, known as al-Ghaba, which means the forest in Arabic. This was where the king lived in his magnificent palace. This area was the center of traditional Soninka religion and culture. It was home to the sacred groves where religious ceremonies were performed and the tombs of former kings. The other city was the commercial hub, a bustling town primarily inhabited by Arab and Berber merchants from North Africa. Here, the trans-Saharan caravans would arrive, their camels groaning under the weight of salt, textiles, and books. The existence of these two distinct cities demonstrates the brilliant political strategy of the Ghana kings. Kumbi-Saleh was therefore a perfect microcosm of the empire itself, a powerful African kingdom that skillfully managed its relationship with the wider Islamic world. As the trans-Saharan trade routes brought wealth to Ghana, they also brought new ideas and a new religion, Islam. The Ghana kings, while holding fast to their traditional beliefs, showed remarkable tolerance. They not only allowed the merchants to practice their faith freely, but also employed many literate Muslims as ministers and advisors. The influence of Islam grew slowly but steadily over the centuries. The presence of mosques, Islamic scholars, and the Arabic language in the capital city created a cultural exchange. This peaceful coexistence was a hallmark of the empire's golden age. The kings understood that stability was good for business, and religious tolerance was a key part of maintaining that stability. However, this period of peaceful coexistence was eventually challenged. In the 11th century, a zealous Islamic reformist movement known as the Almoravids rose to power in North Africa. In around 1076, the Almoravid leader Abu Bakr ibn Umar launched an invasion of the Ghana Empire. They captured the capital, Kumbi-Saleh. Although the Almoravids' control over Ghana was relatively short-lived, the invasion left deep and lasting scars. The conflict disrupted the vital trans-Saharan trade routes. The fighting weakened the central authority of the king and created instability throughout the kingdom. The old religious and political order was fractured, and the empire would never fully recover. The Almoravid invasion of the 11th century was a critical blow, but it was not the sole cause of Ghana's decline. The empire's fall was a slow process, driven by a combination of internal pressures and external threats. Environmental factors also played a significant role in the empire's decline. Centuries of supporting a large population had put immense pressure on the land. New goldfields were discovered elsewhere in West Africa, outside of Ghana's control, particularly in Bur to the east. This diverted the flow of gold away from the traditional trans-Saharan routes. As Ghana's monopoly on the gold trade slipped away, so did the tax revenue that had funded the king's court and his army. The empire was losing its economic power. The final blow came from one of Ghana's former subject peoples, the Soso. Under the leadership of a powerful sorcerer king named Sumauro Kante, the Soso rose up and conquered what was left of the weakened Ghana Empire. He was soon defeated in battle in 1235 by Sundiata Keita, the founder of the new and even greater Mali Empire. The rise of Mali marked the definitive end of Ghana's long reign. The old empire was absorbed into the new, and its capital, Kumbi-Saleh, was eventually abandoned to the shifting sands of the Sahel. Though the Ghana Empire vanished from the political map over 800 years ago, its legacy is far from forgotten. It echoes powerfully throughout West African history and continues to shape the region today. When the British colony of the Gold Coast sought its independence in 1957, its leaders looked back to this great historical empire for inspiration. Led by Kwame Nkrumah, they chose to name their new nation Ghana. Today, the story of the Ghana Empire serves as a vital reminder of Africa's rich and complex history, challenging outdated notions and restoring a crucial chapter to the epic saga of human history.